A look back at 2015 in Dane County and a look ahead next on For the Record. Happy holidays, everybody. I'm Neil Heinen. As we near the end of the year, we thought it a great opportunity to look at where we've been and where we're going here in Dane County. And I'm pleased to welcome back to the program Dane County Executive Joe Parisi. Joe, happy holidays.
Thanks, likewise.
Thanks for coming in.
Good to be here.
Just give me your assessment of the year. From where you sit, what do you think? How did Dane County do in the last year?
I think we did well. You know, it was a busy year. It's always busy. I mean, in county government, we touch so many different areas of our community, from an airport to a zoo to human services, a highway department, et cetera, et cetera. So there's always a lot to do, and there are a lot of challenges nationwide and locally. And one of the things that I try to focus on is looking at what the priorities of our community are and mapping out kind of some nuts and bolts strategies for addressing our various challenges. Yeah. You know, there's sometimes there's a tendency to appoint task forces and hold conferences, which are good, they have their place, but it's important that we translate that into action, and so some of the initiatives we undertook in 2015 were meant to do just that.
I want to go through some of the initiatives that are in the context of the budget, and we'll get to that. But just, you know, we measure so much, it seems, locally in sort of distance from Act 10, and then the economy, you know, yeah. and sort of and how we're doing, and they're combined. I mean, they're kind of reflected in a sense of well-being in this county. In comparison to those two things, how are we doing?
Yeah, I think we're doing well. You're right. Act 10 was very disruptive for our community. We have a lot of folks in our community who work directly or indirectly with state government, with the university, et cetera. And really a lot of folks had the rug pulled out from under them by Act 10. We have a lot of people in our public sector who are actually taking home less in their paycheck now than they were 5 years ago. And a lot of them are doing twice the work they were doing because of budget cuts. So that's been a challenge. And then a further challenge was delivered to us this year when the governor cut another $250 million from the university's budget. And when we look at the economy that we have, not only across the state, but particularly here in Dane County, we need trained workers. We have high-tech, biotech, we have advanced manufacturing, and we don't so much have a shortage of jobs as we do a disconnect between the training that's necessary and people having that training and access to it. So what we're trying to focus on is, how do we survive in this post-Act 10 world? How do we survive when the university continues to be cut, and provide opportunities for people? Now, despite that, because of the investment that our community has made in job training, et cetera, in our local schools, a nice fact I like to throw out there for people, because they may not realize, because people do think that, you know, the public sector is the main workforce in Dane County. As important as that is, Dane County is still responsible for 57% of the private sector job growth in the entire state. Right. 57% of the entire state's private sector job growth happens right here in Dane County. So we need to focus on that and focus on folks from the entire spectrum. Another sector of the economy that's very important is the building trades. Right. And that's another place where there's a lot of opportunity to step forward. So one of the pilot programs that we started in 2015 was actually geared at the building trades and geared at connecting people who want to get into the trades with those jobs that exist out there. And these are good. You know, when you get through the apprenticeship program, these are like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year jobs, be it a laborer, electrician, a carpenter. And so we have a great effort between local contractors, the building trades unit, folks like the Urban League and others, to connect people looking for work in a one-stop shop for the trades. And interestingly enough, one of the challenges we ran into was people not having driver's licenses. You know, a lot of folks take that for granted. So in 2015, we piloted a program in conjunction with our efforts to get people into the trades to help people get driver's licenses. And what we found was that a lot of people aren't getting them in the first place. And when we look at you know, the issue of equity and income inequality in our community, a lot of people might not realize that it costs $400 right now for a young person to get their driver's license. When I was young, driver's ed was in school. You went, you got it, and you know how many job applications say, do you have a valid Wisconsin driver's license? You can't work construction without a driver's license. But for young people living in poverty, that $400 is often too much for them or their families to afford. so they don't get a license and they don't have an opportunity to work in a number of jobs. So our pilot brought together a partnership between us and the Madison School District. We had 50 young people who were in summer school this summer, and the school district helped us find young people who wanted a license but their families couldn't afford it. And we were able to fund those licenses through a partnership and get those kids behind the wheel training. We got them their permits, and then either they're getting their practice from a family member, or if that's not possible, we have volunteers in the school system who are helping them do the behind the wheel they need to so they can get their driver's license. And that's what I mean by nuts and bolts approaches.
Yep.
It might not make headlines, but it makes a real difference in these young people's lives. So we really try to focus on those kind of programs that are going to help people move ahead and look at what the barriers are and work at removing those barriers.
In terms of the building trades program in particular, Joe, have you seen any results from that, or is it just too early to tell?
You know, we're seeing great results. We've had a number, last time I checked, it was over 60 people who had been placed this year through the big, it's called Project Big Step, through the Project Big Step program. Because what we do is we have various trades, you know, the electricians, the steel workers, other folks will have apprenticeship fairs, and people who think they're interested in the trades will come and they'll learn about the profession. And then if they're interested in getting in that apprenticeship program, they learn what the prerequisites are. And if they don't have them, they learn how to get them. Then they get plugged into an apprenticeship program. So it's been working great so far. It's great for the people who need the work. It's great for the contractors and great for our local economy.
60 seems like a big number to me.
Yeah. They're doing a bang-up job. It's being run by a gentleman you probably know, Bill Klingen,
sure.
Who has a long history in our community, who's connected to the community and understands the building trades and workforce development issues. So we're very fortunate to have Bill running that effort.
Joe, I know these numbers are much easier to gauge decade by decade, but do you have any sense in terms of population growth? I mean, can you see Dane County growing year by year?
Oh yeah, the projections are that within, I believe it's the next 20 years, we will be up to 600,000. We're over 500,000 now. And what's interesting about that is for many folks across the state and across the nation, they're losing population, and that's a challenge. 70% of the entire state's population growth in the last decade has happened here in Dane County. That's because we invest in quality of life issues. That attracts people. We invest in workforce development. We have places like Epic. We have a lot of good, nice startups coming. And it's a place people want to live, and it's a place young people want to live, which gives us a great heads up over a lot of other regions. But with it, it brings challenges, because we also have a $3.5 billion agricultural economy in Dane County. We have, as you know, our urban center surrounded by ag, and we have a lot of development pressures. So it's important that we focus on managing how we grow and where we grow so we can maintain what's special about Dane County and the quality of life attributes we have.
Well, when we come back, we'll take a look at the budget and the initiatives in there and what they tell us about where we're headed in 2016 with County Executive Joe Parisi right after this. I am back with Dane County Executive Joe Parisi, and we are taking a look at 2015 in Dane County and about to take a look ahead to 2016, which is really kind of an interesting function of the budget, which occurs in the fall every year. And, and it's, you know, your priorities, the county board's priorities for where we're headed. So just kind of give us some of the highlights and what do they say about 2016.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, again, as I mentioned before, we touch so many different areas, and part of my job is assessing and gauging what the needs are, both by looking at information and listening to the community. And one of the areas I've heard a lot of feedback about is in the areas of mental health and a lot of challenges that folks have. A couple of years ago, I was visiting with some of our workers out in the Verona area who work with law enforcement in the schools and help families who are facing challenges. And they brought the issue to me of the challenges of mental health crises that occur in school and the challenges that poses, both for the young people having the mental health challenges and the rest of the the school staff and the other kids in their learning environment. So we put together a pilot program, one in Verona, one in Sun Prairie, and one in the Madison School District, to create school-based mental health teams to be there as a resource for young people and their families who are having mental health challenges, and to be there as a resource for the staff. Because what was brought to my attention is often if there's a severe mental health crisis, the staff often had nowhere to turn other than law enforcement. And we know that that's not the best first alternative. Law enforcement doesn't want to have to play that role, and the school staff doesn't want to have to turn to them and have someone get in the criminal justice system because of a mental health challenge. So what we did is we created these teams, and it's a partnership. The schools pay 50% and the county pays 50%. And these teams are available in the schools, not only for the crisis moments that they can come in and help de-escalate a situation and get the young person connected to services, but also before that, to be there to help work with the staff, to help them recognize signs of mental illness, to help them know where the services are that they can get young people connected to, and to help connect with those young people to get out in front of those challenges and get them connected to services they need.
Can you just expand on that a little bit, Joe? I saw a recent quality of life survey that it's one of these outfits that regularly measures state by state, and they rank the states. And this one I had to do, I think, with kids. I might be wrong, but we ranked like third of the 50 states in best quality of life. Yeah. But in that particular ranking, we were 45th in number of healthcare providers.
Right. Yeah, and
I mean, it's pretty dramatic.
Yeah, and that's key, because what we find is there are services available, but connecting to those services is a big challenge, especially now with the Affordable Care Act. If you don't have access at work or through the ACA or through Badger Care, most people are covered through that, and then emergency cases the county can help folks with. But what we've focused on is teams like the one I mentioned. We also have a team that works with the police now to help people connect to services, and we try to connect and have this one-stop shop model as best as possible, because a lot of times services are out there that people don't know they exist.
Isn't there a terrible shortage of providers?
It depends which providers. The one place where there's a big shortage is child psychiatrists.
Okay.
Child psychiatry is a big challenge, and there are waiting lists, but there are counselors, there are other types of services, but we've really invested a lot of effort and resources into getting into the schools. And then we also created in this budget, so in this budget we've expanded that pilot to all the Madison schools, staying in Verona and Sun Prairie, and then we've set aside resources for 2 more suburban districts, and they can apply to do it on a matching grant because it was successful in helping connect people to services. Now that provider issue we've also been dealing with, because before, if you were on Badger Care, it was sometimes hard to get providers because of the reimbursement levels. They weren't enough. Yeah. And there's a new program through the federal government that we're coordinating on the county level, that if you know someone who is on Badger Care, someone who's on Medicaid, and they need assistance with mental health, we can get their providers reimbursed at their regular rate rather than the lower Badger Care rate. And so we can get more providers into the system that way. And in this budget, we've created an ombuds person to help coordinate that, to help get people connected to those services, so that at least theoretically, no one should be without coverage. It's just our role, one of the roles that we're playing in the county, is to try to coordinate all that and get people to the resources that they need.
I love that we start on the front end with young people.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I both have talked about how important that is. But give me another priority in this budget.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot. Okay, so we've expanded the mental health teams in schools, expanded the mental health teams for law enforcement. We're also looking at veterans. And one of the things that I think is important for people to know is that if you're a veteran, be it if you served in Afghanistan, Iraq, or if you were in World War II, the county can help you. Now, this is another area where there are a lot of benefits out there. There are VA benefits, there are different benefits for people who need assistance, who are vets, but finding them and tracking them down can be challenging. There can be some over here in one side of town in one agency, some in another. So at the county, we have what's called a County Veterans Service Officer, CVSO, and that's a one-stop shop. It's in the city-county building, and vets can stop by and in person, or they can give a call to our CVSO, and you will get a case management specialist who will stick with you and help connect you to all the benefits that you have coming. And there are benefits out there. And if you're a vet, you've earned it, you deserve it, and we want to help connect you to that. Some of the other things that we're doing with vets, we've increased funding for something we have that's called Vets Ride with Pride. It's free bus passes for disabled vets to help them get to appointments, be it at the VA, other appointments that they might need. We have eviction prevention dollars to help vets stay in housing. We have assistance for folks who may need help getting a security deposit together. All sorts of things that may not sound huge but can make a huge difference in someone's life. So if you're a vet, give us a call at the CVSO. If you forget the number, call my office. We want to connect people to the resources that they deserve.
We've got it up on the screen. There are a lot of agencies, Joe, the city as well, are focusing on vets. The fire department is reaching out to vets. Would viewers be surprised how many vets we have in Dane County and how many of them are struggling?
Yeah, well, especially when we look at the issues of returning vets now, I think it's very important for people to realize that when someone comes home, particularly if they've been in active duty over the last few years, they've been through unimaginable experiences. And we have a lot of vets who are coming home who have experienced trauma, and we need to be sensitive to that. And we need to make sure that they have access to whatever they need, the counseling they need to help them through it, and the support that they need. Because it's not like you come back and all of a sudden everything's better right away. And if you're a vet and experiencing that, that's okay. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means that you've been through a lot, and what we want the vets to know is they're not alone and that we're here to help them.
Recently, you had a news conference at one of everybody's favorite places. I know it's yours as well, at the zoo, and we're going to talk about that when we come back with Joe Parisi right after this.
I saw some video of the zoo.
Dane County Executive Joe Parisi and I are taking a look at the year just passed and the year ahead, and we're talking about some budget initiatives in that context. And I mentioned the zoo, and you had a news conference at the zoo, and what's going on?
Oh, we did. As you may know, this year another highlight of 2015 is we opened up our new Arctic Passage exhibit. We have 2 new polar bears. We have grizzly bears. This is Suka and Sakari right here. This was yesterday.
You're on a first-name basis with the bears,
we are.
Joe.
And if you look at that, you can see they come right up to the window there, and that view is from the new restaurant we have at the zoo. So you can sit right there at a table, eat a sandwich, and watch the bears, and they come up within inches of you. Yeah. And they're adorable, as you can see. They're like big Labrador puppies. Yeah. So they're a lot of fun. But also what they've done for us, as well as this exhibit, is they resulted, and this didn't open until June, in the highest yearly attendance in the history of the zoo. Nearly 1 million visitors came this year, and in previous years it was around 700,000. So next year, when these bears are here for the entire year, we expect to shatter the 1 million visitor mark. And so, I mean, that's really a testament to our zoo staff, to our community. There is not an exhibit like this polar bear exhibit in the country. I mean, this is really world class. And I think what's important to remember is this is a no admission zoo. It's free parking, and that's
free
part
yesterday,
of our mission.
free today, free forever.
Forever. And that's part of our mission, to make sure that everything that is special about our community is accessible to everyone. And so not only is it great for people who live here, it draws visitors. I mean, we have 500,000 people in Dane County, and we've had 1 million visitors. So it's great for the local economy. People come in, they go out to eat at restaurants, they shop in town. And also our zoo is educational, and we have a conservation ethic, and we help around the world conservation efforts. And so we're really proud of it. And we will always have a free zoo, but without the community input that we've had and support, we would not have this zoo. We have a Friends of the Zoo organization, and people, businesses, and individuals throughout the community have helped us out and continue to help us a lot to have a world-class zoo.
If we have time, touch on seniors and lakes for us.
Yeah, seniors. We were talking about the one-stop shop for veterans in the last segment. I want to make sure people also know about something called the Aging and Disability Resource Center, ADRC. This is a one-stop shop for seniors, for people with disabilities to call to get connected to their benefits. This is another county-run one-stop shop. So if you're a senior, if your parents are getting older and you're wondering what kind of support might be out there for them, maybe they need some in-home support, maybe you're wondering what the next step is. If you have disabilities or you know someone with disabilities, you can call or walk into the ADRC and you will get a live person, you will get a person who is right here in Dane County, and that person will stick with you for as long as you need, be it a week or be it a year, at the ADRC to help you connect to all the benefits that are available and all the services that you might need for your parents to age better in place, for people who need assistance. And again, there are a lot of services available and benefits, but tracking those down and even knowing where to start can be very complicated.
Including stuff like Medicare and Social Security and all that stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you have any question related to aging, or people with disabilities, call or stop by and they will connect you to what you need. That's another service the county offers that we want to make sure that people know about and people utilize.
Are we making progress cleaning up our waters, Joe?
We are. You know, it's not something that's going to happen overnight,
right,
but because of the nature of the problem is non-point runoff. Whenever it rains, a lot of different sources of pollution come into the lakes. But really the two major forms are the runoff that happens in the urban areas from yards, from streets whenever it rains, and runoff from agriculture. And we continue to have a great partnership with environmentalists, the business community, and our farming community to address the phosphorus runoff where it starts. And one of the most exciting parts of the 2015 budget for me is, you know, we have our manure digesters, two of them now, that take manure that would have been spread on fields and would be susceptible to runoff when it rains, and it goes through a process that converts the manure to methane gas that's burned to generate electricity, and it takes phosphorus out in the process. Now, it was taking 60% of the process out. There's a new item in my 2016 budget called nutrient concentration that will take that manure now and extract 100% of the phosphorus from it. It's really game-changing in our efforts to clean up the lakes. So, you know, stay tuned. There's a lot of good stuff happening.
It's always risky to end on manure digester because of all the science involved.
Yeah.
Joe, thanks. Happy New Year.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back on Wrap Up For the Record right after this. My thanks to County Executive Parisi. Next week, Leslie Howard looks back at a career at the United Way. Join us then. Thanks for being with us, and happy holidays, everybody. See you next Sunday.